Hey folks, MasakoX here. Now that we're a few episodes into Daima and you've been sitting on the fence waiting for an opportunity to binge watch some episodes and to catch up even faster, you can go and check out my reviews right here because I've done every single one. So Dragon Ball Daima episode 15 just landed and I think visually speaking, it was completely different to what we've seen in the last couple of weeks. That was really taking in of itself a breather from episode 12 when we got the revelation of Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta. But now we're actually getting ourselves in to the final arc, as it were, knowing that roughly it's going to be about 20 episodes or so. In a way, that kind of just makes me think that they are stalling for time in a way, because even though the visuals are really, really good, and this is something that we don't usually see, a really, really compelling battle between two forces. I think the last time I recall any of this going down is when the Earth's defensive forces try to take on Cell, and you know how that goes. But now this was actually a really interesting and somewhat protracted battle between the Gendarmerie forces and the Dragon. You might be thinking, well, hang on a minute. How come Goku, Vegeta, et al. Don't just tear themselves through this force at full power because they are in a rush to make sure they can get to the first Tamagami and then get that Dragon Ball? Unbeknownst to them, Dr. Anisu and the Dooku brothers have already got it. There's a rush here. Why are they just padding this out? And then you go, oh, okay, I think I know how this goes, because from the preview of the next episode, we are basically going to be getting the battle with the Gendarmerie force, which is basically the Demon World's equivalent of the Ginyu force, so we've got to get through that. They will win, but it will take the entire episode to do it. And then, of course, there's Degesu suddenly going mad with power, absolutely sick and tired of Goma, and deciding to take matters into his own hands, because obviously he's now starting to think from basic looks that, yeah, no, this guy's gone completely loopy. I'm the only voice of reason in the room. I'll talk about that more later. I just want to talk about the actual meat of this episode. And even though on a presentation level, it's absolutely brilliant, there is non-stop action. So there is no point throughout this entire episode that you really get bored. It just felt like this is a little bit dragged out and unnecessarily long, because Goku and Vegeta being taken down by those blasters, the only logical explanation, since this is Dragon Ball Daima and magic is quite prevalent within this world, is that these laser blasters, which apparently according to Pansy could last as long as 10 days, so they can't just wait it out, is that it's magic based, and that therefore it's a little bit more potent and maybe a little bit less able of ki to be able to just repel. So this isn't akin to traditional Earth weaponry and armaments where it absolutely has no effect on the Dragon team, and pretty much never has, even from episode 1 of the original Dragon Ball. And even though it's not enough to, take them down fully, it's gonna sting really, really badly, and it will be some sort of means to just disarm them or just stun them in a way. So that is something that could be remotely useful, but if there's enough force, and as we saw at the end of the episode, Goku could just go Super Saiyan and then just completely flip out. Now that's another thing I want to see here, is that Vegeta here is the one that doesn't get the most angry, because as we all know from previous instances in Dragon Ball, Goku likes a clean, fair fight. And this is exactly what he's not getting. And he's being denied the final battle. He wants to get to that Tamagami, and he is really annoyed. I don't think many people really notice this, is that Goku gets really irritated by the fact that these guys aren't fighting in the sense that he enjoys, but instead, they are just shooting laser beams at him and they are hurting him, and he's not able to fight back competently or in the manner he would like to or is accustomed to. So at the entire episode, it's building up to that moment where he's just like, that's great, boom. And then he just goes Super Saiyan. He then goes completely mad. Like, he just fires all these ki blasts. I don't think at any point he really cares whether or not he actually kills any of them or not. And there's just this massive explosion. And then you think, okay, that looks really cool. But why didn't this happen at the beginning of the episode when he first said, oh, this isn't really not fair. I can't even chance to fight. And it's just like, he was really getting frustrated by this. It's rare to see Goku like this. But then again,
we do see him throughout the entire series and the entire existence of Dragon Ball these last 40 years, that he's really not a fan of weapons because it's just not his style and it's not fair. It's not a proper battle where you can fight with your fists or even ki blasts. I mean, those seem to be acceptable because it actually is generated from you, not some kind of laser blaster. And in a way, it's something that you think, okay, maybe I can understand that, but it does feel like that it was meant to be some big dramatic tension to make it look like, oh, the Dragon team, they've got some sense of adversity. This magical thing they don't understand is keeping them somewhat pinned down or something like that. But then again, it's just something I feel like was there as there's a structured plan. Like episode 15 is going to be the moment when they get to the first demon world, they have their first battle, and we find out more about the third eye. Now, the third eye becomes relevant because we now know exactly, for sure, from the showrunners of Daima, what it is. And indeed, as many people speculated from I think as early as episode 7, that the third eye was the thing what was on Hibis's belt. And yes, in true Toriyama fashion, it was lost in the most awkward and just bizarre circumstances. It wasn't stolen, it was given to the enemy via Degesu's plan to just charm one of the people, that being Hibis. But I think the Sigmas in the room will absolutely adore the fact that Hibis just locked in and just was like, no, I don't want Kiss, I want that hat. So reject Kiss, embrace hat. That's pretty much it, really. He doesn't understand the significance of the eye because as we saw in the, admittedly, for us, flashback to understand what the third eye even is, although we could probably give it a guess already without the flashback. So again, it felt like a bit stalling for time for something that could easily be just brought down to 30 seconds. Maybe this was an opportunity for a little bit of fan service to find out more about Dabura, because Dabura is something that people want to know more about. And Have and I on the channel have admittedly said that we were really, really disappointed that we didn't really get to know the Demon King back in the time of the Z. I guess now we've got a little bit of what we wanted. Abura didn't just willfully pass the torch over to Dabura. Dabura just took it because the third eye is the thing that really gives the Demon King their true power. Has it been for the entire history of the demon world? We are not sure, but in the here and now, in these recent times, at least from Abura, it's something that gave people all this power. And Dabura was really interesting in the fact that he didn't want the third eye for himself. He just wanted it out of the equation. So maybe that's my best guess, thinking that, yeah, maybe it was a recent acquisition. And this is something that maybe wasn't in keeping with the tradition of the demon world and the supreme demon king. So he wanted it gone. Either that, or it was just a means to realize that, oh, my father is really, really weak, and the source of his power is that eye. I mean, no one else would know that that was the key to the Demon King's power other than the person who, in theory, would succeed them or the people close to Abura. So, as we find out, he gets a random cockroach fluky to go and steal it, and then eventually maybe pick it up eventually to either make sure that no one else gets it, or he can use it for himself if he needs to. But as we know, Dabura is quite strong. He is incredibly powerful, akin to Super Saiyan 2 Gohan around the Perfect Cell Saga. So he is relatively strong. So he can take down anybody within the demon world, as is proven. Not quite the Tamagamis, but he could give it a fair fight if he really tried to. But ultimately, I don't think that would happen. He just kind of wants to keep the status quo from what I saw, and to ensure that really he can rule unopposed and just keep things the way they are under his own governance. And we did sort of see in earlier episodes that Dabura wasn't exactly popular, as it were, and wasn't really in keeping with maintaining the order, as in things were crumbling, the quality of life wasn't really that great, it was fine, people just got by. And okay, now we know that the third eye is definitely that one. It would explain the logo of the Supreme Demon King, that eye was pivotal to its existence, because, well, it's right in the center, front row in terms of the composition. So, okay, that does make sense, but it was there to stall for time. And it maybe took a little bit of the tension and suspense out. But then again, you could easily argue that them acquiring the third eye in that manner by Hibis just simply giving it to the accomplice of Degesu, it just takes out any potential opportunities for them to be able to just have it at the last minute. Suddenly, like, Golma just sees them all at one place. Goma then just spots the third eye and either just magically steals it, just takes the belt off because it's just a belt. And Hybus would have no idea why it was significant. So, Goma could just be, you, give me your belt. And Hybus said, why? Because I want it. Okay. I like your staff. You can't have my staff. Can I have that rock? Yeah, sure, whatever. Cool. It's fun. We have no idea what Hybus likes and doesn't like, really. The most bizarre thing. So it could have happened right at the last minute, and then people would have gone, oh, dang, oh, no. Goma would have had it, put it in, we would have had the final battle, where Goma would have definitely been the final boss with the third eye intact, because as we found out, it gives them abnormally strong and incredible power. I think that was really, really missing. That was a shame. That was an absolute shame, but at the same time, this is in keeping with Toriyama's sense of humor. So, okay, I'm like, fine. It's there. Something that we are going to miss in a way now that this is the last piece of content purely from Toriyama's sense of humor and mind. It's also a crying shame that Toei's just seemingly dropping the ball with this delivery, and the fact that they're releasing a dubbed episode of Daima once a week and starting from the first episode. The hype is just gone. I barely hear anybody talk about Daima. It's just been a complete and utter travesty, and it really does make me second guess my commitment to Dragon Ball, really. It just makes me feel sad and jaded and okay. All right, I'm getting distracted. Okay. So Degesu, this is a really interesting point, and the fact that the next episode is called Degesu, that's going to be his backstory. And in a way, I kind of get the sense that he's now starting to reconsider his options, because up until this point, he's been subservient to Goma. But now, slowly but surely, he's starting to realize that, hey, this guy's nuts. He doesn't know what he's doing, because he can't think of a plan to get that belt and the third eye. He gets me to do it. And sure, it's cool that in a way he trusts Degesu in that manner, but he's not exactly accommodating or nice about it. But then again, Degesu should know that the Supreme Demon King is not always known or recognized or famed for being nice, but you just get the sense like he's sort of questioning Goma's logic, because he's like, don't all eyes look like that? Okay, it's really odd, whatever. If you look closely at that preview, he is holding a weapon at Dende's head. So they are ready to rescue Dende, but he's now holding the kid hostage, something that Goma was not planning to do. Never wouldn't even think of doing that. So either Degesu's getting desperate, or he's trying to get the third eye for himself, and he's trying to make sure that he thinks that Goma's not worthy. He should be worthy because he's smarter than Goma. And yeah, glory to the Glins, who are now not going to be repopulating because all the Glin trees are gone. So this is some sort of scarcity thing. And Nahare will have to look like, go, please, brother, don't do this. You've got so much to live for. And he's like, no, this is the last stand. Us Glins are about to die out. This is our opportunity to rise up again and find a way to repopulate our species. Unbeknownst to them that there are Glins still living in the other worlds, but either way, this is probably his repopulation plan, and maybe in connection in a way to Neva, who also wants to repopulate the second demon world with Namekians. So Glins, Namekians, going back there, it's just a theory in my opinion, but Neva's sort of taking a backseat at the moment after being really important in the last few episodes, because he's just like, yeah, I'm just an old man. I'm just here to help you get your wish. I'm not some sort of fighter. I can't just use my magic. Dude, he could use his magic. His magic is incredibly powerful. So he could just fight fire with fire, as it were, but he just chooses not to at the most inconvenient time. So that is something to take note of, that maybe Neva, Degesu, maybe they might be working together, or maybe have mutual interests to make sure the second demon world is back to being prosperous and thriving, whilst also being closed-minded to other realms who might try and corrupt it, as is the case as to why Namekians no longer exist there, and the Glins then got that plum from the sacred world and the other world and the living world that one of the big OG demon kings created because he wanted to make more universes at the time. It's just something to think about. Maybe that's some sort of connection, or Neva might suddenly be involved in that hostage situation where Dende said, I don't think you should take down that kid. Oh yeah? Well, I've got no other options. And then we'll start to get into more backstory, find out why he even became an assistant to the Supreme Demon King, maybe a little bit more about Arinsu, why they and Nahare and Shin got separated. Yeah, there are opportunities to have some really interesting plot points, but it's clear that there is a defined structure. So we got the basic fight in episode 15. We're going to get more about Degesu and the Gendarmerie force episodes. So it's going to be split between those two narratives. 17 is them going to go to the Tamagami and they'll find out, oh, the Dragon Ball's already gone. Who took it? And then Arisu's like, me! And then we'll get a Dooku fight or first encounter. 18 will be the build-up to the final battle, maybe with Dooku or Goma. Episode 19, the climax. Episode 20, wrapping things up. That's as far as I think it will go. But the fact that we are starting to really think that it is 20 episodes, and I think Hulu leaked that that final episode of Daima will drop on the 28th of February. Oh, Hulu. So apparently that I think some Dragon Ball series are being pulled or their licenses are about to expire or something. So yeah, Dragon Ball remaining relevant amongst the populace, that's going to be even harder in the US. And it's just making me think that Dragon Ball is just really in a bad place right now. Toei is seriously dropping the ball when it comes to a general release. I don't know what they're doing. I just really can't get behind this. And this is just such a shame because Daima is probably one of the most polished and well-executed series we've seen from Dragon Ball in a long time. It's just a shame it's not going on for longer. But I don't know. I'm just a little bit wary of the people running this project now that Toriyama's no longer there, who might be able to at least keep a little bit more pressure if he was still around. I mean, in a way, but then again, he might not care because he's just doing his thing and it's Toriyama. I don't know. But I don't know, it's just making me sad because this episode is really well presented. It's slick, it's action-packed, it's a little bit convenient, but it's still a very solid episode, but with a couple of frustrating moments. But then you could easily argue that, okay, it's in keeping with the story's humor, but people who didn't watch the original Dragon Ball or don't get Toriyama's humor and sense of style might get angry about it. So those are just my thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'll see you when I see you, because my little one is starting nursery in the next couple of weeks. And also my throat, as you might be able to hear, is still not quite back to the confidence level where I can do what if stories or deep in-depth discussions with full gusto. And I'd rather be giving you all full gusto, honestly. But anyway, I'll see you around, folks. Catch you later.